Hello. Right, so today I'm going to be talking about plant-based sources of food to boost your sleep. And I did say in the last podcast that I would write and speak about this. So yes, in the last podcast, I spoke about the benefits of animal-based proteins and dairy foods to enhance sleep. And I'm laughing because in that podcast I kept saying dairy and I meant to say dairy. So if you do go back and listen to that, if you hear dairy, it should be dairy. That's what I should be saying. But anyway, I've left it as it is. So yeah, so I was talking about animal-based proteins and dairy foods. So with animal-based products and dairy food, they are very high in tryptophan. Tryptophan is a amino acid. So amino acids are what happens after we eat protein-based foods, and it's like the breakdown of the proteins, and then they become amino acids. And so tryptophan eventually becomes melatonin, and melatonin is what we need for a productive night's sleep. Okay, so melatonin is a hormone, and it's produced when it starts to get dark. So maybe 9 o'clock, it starts to get dark, and then that's when you find yourself getting a bit tired. And so naturally, the body will produce melatonin. But as we're getting older, so I'm 47. So yeah, I've noticed differences to how I sleep at 47 now to when I was 17. And so if you are listening to this and you're of a certain age, you may notice that you're possibly struggling with sleep, and it's not what it used to be like when you're in your 20s and 30s and as a teenager. And so unfortunately, melatonin does reduce as we get older. And as a woman of a certain age, as we start to find that we're having issues with our hormones, with our sex hormones, which estrogen and progesterone, they start to lower, and so does melatonin as well. And those sex hormones do affect melatonin production as well. So women going through menopause or premenopause, perimenopausal, then yes, you probably will notice a huge difference in your sleep as well. And that's just because of age, unfortunately. So a reduction of melatonin may appear as restlessness, so you're probably getting up maybe multiple times in the night and not getting back to sleep. Or it may appear that you're getting less than 8 hours of sleep. Now, I spoke about this the other day because not everybody needs 8 hours of sleep. There's this kind of myth that's out there that says that we must have 8 hours of sleep. And I would define the difference of this between you may be only getting 6 hours of sleep, but how are you waking up? So if you wake up and you're feeling very fresh, then maybe you've got enough sleep. If you are sleeping for 6 hours during the night and you're waking up and you're still needing more sleep, you're feeling really lethargic, then that means that there is an issue there, and you are needing more sleep. So most likely, if you're having issues with insomnia, it's because of that. You're waking up and you're not feeling fresh. Okay, so in the last podcast, I focused quite a bit on animal-based eaters. And so I promised that I would focus on plant-based eaters for this one, but I'm going to be totally honest here and say, and if you are a plant-based eater, you possibly know this anyway, but sources of protein when it comes to being plant-based, it's very limited. You are going to get more amino acids by eating more of an animal-based diet, unfortunately. So all I can say is I will try my best. I've given some options, but it's possibly not what you're looking for, but I will give this a go. So for plant-based eaters, your sources of protein, which you'll probably know this anyway, will be from beans and lentils, nuts, and also wheat and oats, even though they're mainly carbohydrate-based foods, but they do contain proteins. And so when we're looking at tryptophan, that's what you need to be focusing on. So I'll say it again: beans and lentils, which are legumes, nuts, wheat, and oats. So for plant-based eaters and also animal-based eaters, because I'm sure you probably will enjoy eating plant-based foods, maybe. So a bowl of porridge sprinkled with nuts and seeds, maybe an hour or two before bedtime, would be a really good solution, a good selection if you were to go down that route. Or if you like nut butters, like almond butter, then if you had that with a couple of slices of wholemeal bread, then that would be a really good option as well. Okay, so there's two options for you. And just wanted to touch upon as well whole grains, whole grain carbohydrates. So I've mentioned your wholemeal bread, I've mentioned oats, and they are really good, not just for the plant-based eaters, but also for animal-based eaters as well. They're really good options for tryptophan, and I'll explain why. So whole grains like pasta, bread, oats, cereals, they will contain tryptophan, but it's not a good source like it would be from animal-based foods. Okay, but in saying that, if you are to have whole grain foods, it can really help alongside protein-based food. So in the body, tryptophan amino acid, it's quite a weak amino acid, so it will battle with other amino acids. So for instance, if you have your chicken and it gets broken down into the body and it gets separated into all these amino acids, tryptophan being one of them, then it's most likely that the other amino acids are going to win. So they're going to break through into the bloodstream, possibly better than tryptophan. Okay, so tryptophan is quite a weak amino acid, but if you pair that with some whole grains, then it's got a better chance. So if you were to have chicken with pasta, and I say pasta with whole grain pasta because that would be much better than having your refined sort of pastas and stuff. So if you were to have that combination, that would be a lot better than just having the chicken on its own. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so try and pair these protein sources with other good whole grain carbohydrates, and that, you know, that gives it a better chance then for tryptophan to get into your bloodstream. Okay, so when it comes to whole grain complex carbohydrates in exchange for what we would call refined carbohydrates. So refined carbohydrates are your sugary foods, your chocolates, your biscuits, your cookies, and it's most likely, I mean, I've done it as well, it's most likely when you've gotten up and you're not getting a good night's sleep and you just think to yourself, I know, I'll go and have a hot chocolate. And I've done this, and hot chocolate really does affect me. If I have hot chocolate during the evening, I know I'm going to wake up with a headache. So if you have been noticing that, if you like having a hot chocolate before bed and you're noticing that you're waking up with really bad migraine or headaches, then it's most likely that the hot chocolate is doing that. So you might wake up and you think, yeah, I want something really sweet now, because you want something comforting, don't you? Yeah, so you might be a type of person that does that. You know, you're waking up in the night and then you're going off and having these sweet treats to make you feel better. So, you know, I'm not knocking anyone here, because I've done it as well. So you might go for these treats just to make you feel better, and hopefully it will relax you so that you can get back to sleep again. But the PubMed website says higher intakes of added sugars and refined grains predicted higher insomnia risk, while higher intakes of fruit and fibre were associated with favourable sleep quality outcomes. So if you're doing this every day, then you're just really adding to the fact that you're not getting much sleep. It's not going to make your sleep get better. It's going to keep adding to these issues. And also, if you are having this throughout the day, so if you've got quite a refined carbohydrate diet, then you're probably adding as well to your issues with insomnia. And it would be much better to be eating your fruit, vegetables, to be eating more whole grain carbohydrates. So instead of having your white rice, and I'm going to say this because I come from a Caribbean background and our diets are flooded with white rice, and the same for other cultures as well, where rice, especially refined white rice, is quite a big part of the diet. But if you are eating a lot of that, especially if it's like your last meal of the day, it's possibly causing issues with your sleep as well. So it would be much better to switch to kind of like brown rice, also switching to whole grain pastas instead of having the white pasta that we normally see, which is usually the cheaper option. It's not that much more if you are to go and have like whole grain pasta, but it would be much better to do that. And so if you are looking to change into these things and having brown rice or whole grain pasta, and you may have tried it in the past, you think that's absolutely disgusting, I will never eat that again, then you can mix it. So mix your white rice with brown rice. Just get used to the taste, and then over time you'll start to enjoy it. You'll start to think, okay, this isn't that bad, and then you can start to increase. So then you'll have more brown rice and then less white rice. Okay, so you can mix these things together. Doesn't mean that you can only have this and not have the other. Okay, so it would be a lot more beneficial, instead of waking up in the night and grabbing a bar of chocolate, it would be better to have a banana or have some sweet fruit instead of having the bar of chocolate. That would be a lot better. Or if you are opting to have the hot chocolate, why not try and get some chamomile tea? And that would be a lot better than going for that very high sugar drink. It would be a lot better to try chamomile tea. Okay, so I'm not here to preach, because that's not my style. Diet and exercise, it's hard. It's hard to make these changes, especially if this has been a part of your life for so many years. So I'm not here to dictate. And so it might be that there's some nights where a hot chocolate, that's the only thing that will do. And if that is the case, then go for it, go for the hot chocolate. But I'm just saying, if this is like a daily thing, if it's a daily occurrence, then you really need to have a look at other options, because it's not helping with your insomnia. And at the end of the day, you've got this goal here that you want better sleep, so you do need to be focusing on some of those things that are going to help, and seeing if you can look at reducing them. Okay, so I hope this is helping the plant-based eaters. But you know, in all honesty, there's not very much really that I can recommend when it comes to tryptophan, because it's an amino acid and it's going to be higher in a lot of, you know, animal-based foods. So I hope that's really helped. And the other option is supplementation. So there's like 5-HTTP. That's another option, because that supplement can help with transferring into melatonin as well. But I don't want to go off into all of that. I'll probably touch upon supplementation and stuff with another podcast. So I really, really hope that has been helpful for you. And I just wish you a happy, peaceful sleep. And hopefully some of these things you might be able to bring into your life to see if it will help with your sleep. Okay, so signing off now for today. Have a fantastic, fantastic, wonderful day. You take care, and I will be back here very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.